Today, Douglas Vermeeren, author of the book Guerrilla Millionaire, joins us in studio to talk about some steps that people can take to maintain a family budget and live within their means. Important stuff, so thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you say that every single purchase you make is an investment.
It really is, and in fact, some of these investments are in ourselves. You know, we buy the Starbucks, we buy the clothing and these
I
things,
was
right?
thinking that, yes.
You know, we buy the shoes, and people question, well, how can that be an investment? But quite frankly, if we're not feeling right, if we're not on top of our game, if we're not experiencing life in a positive way to some extent, it's really hard to be successful in other areas, like work, but no play. It just doesn't work. So you do have to take care of yourself. That's an investment also.
For sure. But high household debt, there are some people who are taking care of themselves a little too well.
Isn't that true? Yeah, definitely.
And what are the numbers for that? Like in Canada, how many people are deep in debt?
Well, you know what? The strange thing is we're definitely not in as bad a shape as they are in the United States. And I'm really pleased with that. It seems like in Canada that we're maybe a little bit better financially educated. And consumer debt, I don't think, is as available and as readily available as it is in the United States. But it is still a significant problem, and I think that there's a large number of people out there that really could use the support to get out of the debt. You know?
Okay, so living within your means. What's the first step a family should take to try to do this?
I think the very first thing is you need to plan ahead. Most people are money managers. They try and sort out what's happening as the bills come in, as the money comes in, they try and match it, and that's the strategy. And that's not the best way to do it. So you need to be a money strategist, not a money manager, and a money strategist plans ahead. So at the end of the month, when there is maybe an extra, if there is an extra, $20, $50, $100, $200, it's not, hooray, we balance the checkbook, let's go to the mall. It's, we've got this extra money, what can we do to use that to put ourselves ahead of the game for the months that follow? In fact, even making a 5-year or even trimming a 1-year or even a 6-month plan can make a huge difference for people.
And you say there's no such thing as disposable income.
Yeah,
is it because everything should be budgeted?
Well, you know, I don't know that everything should be budgeted, and I'd be lying to you if I said that I budgeted everything.
Good.
I don't. But I think that the word disposable, to me, it kind of frustrates me, because disposable, where do we hear that? Garbage disposal units or the garbage can. And if we think of our money as disposable, like it has no value, you know, we're just going to spend it as it comes in and it's disposable, we will never have any extra money. So we need to look at it different. All money has a value to it. All money that we use has an exchange that we do with it. And so how can we exchange this money to take care of the things that need to get taken care of, but also to take care of us too? And so if we're looking at it as actually a valuable, you know, entity, I think we start spending differently.
Exactly. Okay, so you mentioned a plan, a 6-month plan, a year, a 5-year. Where should people be focusing, and what should be in those plans? Well,
I think, first of all, the biggest thing that we see is that people don't think that they should do it or believe that they can do it.
Right.
And so the first thing of the whole plan is to really congratulate yourself that you're making the plan. And so that's already a step ahead of most Canadians. And so when you make that plan, I think you should begin by itemizing what I call the absolutes or the necessaries. Your mortgage, your rent, your utilities, your car payments, maybe a student loan, whatever it could be, things that are non-negotiable, like you've got to get those paid. And I think you need to know where that number is. Too many people, it's like going to the shopping mall, right? If you know you're going to this store at the other end of the mall, if you don't know where the "you are here" is yet, you can't get there. So you've got to find the where you are and what you need to survive. Once you know sort of what it takes to pay your bills on a monthly basis, you can then start to calculate what you need to do to arrive at those numbers. So once you have that, and I call that your financial freedom number, by the way, because once you know what that number is, you can satisfy it. You can look for ways to satisfy it. So once you're free, then you can start looking at creating financial abundance, which is the next step. So beyond those absolutes, those necessities, what are the nice to haves? What are the things that are fun to have,
thinking
right?
Food we haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah, well, and that's a necessity,
gas,
right?
Stuff like that.
You don't,
you don't
live very long if you don't have food, right? You know.
So this is, clothing, hair appointments,
all
stuff
these
like
kind of things. And by the way, the other thing that I think is really important to notice is that you're not going to satisfy and make a perfect budget all on the very first time you try. Right? Money, I think, again, this is so essential. It's never created in an event. It's a journey. It's kind of like if your heart was to pump blood once every 6 months, you'd still die, right? No matter how much blood it pumped. So this is going to be a journey. It's going to be something that you're going to have to practice and get good at it over time. But the more you do it, the better you'll get at it.
Okay. If people are already in debt, what should they do?
Wow. Get out of it as quickly as possible. No, I think one of the keys, you know, we look at our parents, and our parents always taught us the rule is stay out of debt, right? Yeah. The truth is it's impossible to do that nowadays. So what you need to do is learn how to really strategically manage that debt. Now, when I'm saying that, you need to make a plan on how to get out of it. One of the things that we teach in our coaching program is something called debt stacking, where basically you take the debts that you've got and the ones that are charging you the highest interest, and you attack those ones as fast fast as you can, and as that one's satisfied, you then shift that free money, or the money that's now freely available to you, onto the next debt. And so you keep building them down. And of course, as you're doing that, make sure you're making the minimum payments on everything, because you don't want to ruin your credit.
That is in your essentials plan.
That is essential.
Okay, so the book is called Guerrilla Millionaire. You can probably bookstores everywhere, I assume?
Yeah, it's actually going to be in Chapters, Indigo, Barnes & Noble in the States coming up here, released in about a month.
Perfect. Okay, and if you want more information, simply go to our website and click on news links. Thank you so much for coming.
And thanks for having me. It was awesome.